Good morning, friends. Or good evening, perhaps. See how this goes. My scheduling thing on YouTube has been acting a little crazy. Look, before we get into this video, this combiner is pretty solid. I chose to do this first, we'll get to the other ones later, but because people are having so many issues with this long haul, I'm going to talk about it for just a second. So the problem is that the wheels on long haul don't come pushed into the side, they come a little bit out. The wheels are connected to a double hinged kind of system. It's a tightly toleranced thing. The tolerances have kind of been an issue with this line across the board, so they're a little tightly toleranced. The section that it sits on is about this long. It's connected closely to a thin piece of green plastic. The amount of torque that you're able to get by rotating the wheel is significant, especially for that plastic. So, if I were you, when manipulating that wheel, make sure you manipulate as close to the pin as you can. It's funny, my long haul review is already shot, and in it I predicted that this could cause some issues, and it seems as though it is. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. Two things I wanted to mention real quick. He stands a lot better on my felt piece than he stands on here, but he still stands pretty good on here. And, see? Pretty solid. And then, I say there's no ankle tilt here, and there is. I had tilt rocker confusion for just a second and I got all ate up. You'll see it as it goes. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite spoilers, favorite nerd, and today we are talking about ToyWorld's Devastator. And the reason why I say spoiler is because I've already reviewed Long Haul and Hook. I'm just not publishing them yet. I'm going to not edit them yet. I'm working on this because I know that this is what people are really interested in. So we'll do this, and then I'll release the Hook and Long Haul ones later. They're good overall. A couple issues, more so with Long Haul than with Hook, but they're fine. I think this set looks fantastic. Like, even the problems that I have with them individually, together, I feel like it washes it away. Like, I have issues with how skinny Scrapper's chest is, but seeing them all together doesn't bother me at all. I have issue with kind of how wide Scavenger and Bone Crusher are. Seeing them all together doesn't bother me at all. I have issues with Mixmaster kind of all around. Seeing him with the rest doesn't bother me much. I think that together they really do a good job of being the cohesive G1 likeness Constructicons for a masterpiece scale that most people have wanted. Are they a little big? Yeah. Is that going to be super bothersome? I don't think so. It's just something that, like, if you look at it too long, you might think, oh, they are a little big. But I don't. I think that together they look good enough where that size issue is not one. There they are in vehicle mode, and not for nothing, like, I just feel like the Constructicons are a set that just can't look bad in alt mode together. Like, it always looks good. Whenever I see them together like this, whenever I see these 6 green construction vehicles, I always hear the bum 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 bum, you know what I mean? Like, I just always get that feeling. It doesn't matter who's doing it. I got it from Maketoys and TFC and even Combiner Wars to an extent. Even with the nightmare that is their Mixmaster, I got it with Combiner Wars. So there's just something about these vehicles, it always works. It always feels right. It always feels good, and this one is no different. And here we are. We're gonna do it piece by piece just because of the size. It's almost impossible to try to show you and do it. So I guess to have the instructions is more important than my reaction per se at putting it together for the first time. So make sure that these bits are like double hinged down inside. I had mine flipped around. That was just an error on my part. Take this and slide it in. It's a tight fit, but it'll go. It'll go further. It sucks, because basically these pull out here and latch onto these two. I'm going to see if I can push this in a little bit further off camera. Alright, I really couldn't get it, and I'm afraid to push it in any further because I'm afraid that it's going to do damage to it. And then I just use these to wrap around and kind of capture one of the pegs. I mean, it's obviously not going anywhere, so I don't have to worry about that, but I would advise you guys to grease this up a taste before you start plugging away at it. Let's do Mixmaster. Similar thing here. These bits here, they slide into the back slots there, and then this comes around to the front, and that goes in there. So let's see if I can't show you. It's a little unwieldy. There. That one went a lot better. And then pull this out, rotate it around these tabs. Same for the other side. Great googa mugga. Alright, and that's the legs. Here what we have to do is open up long haul's innards just a taste. These two slots, these two tabs, and then these two screw holes on these two. And that should secure him. And then we'll tab that together. Good to go. It's solid so far. Okay, so then you want to put the shield on them. Make sure you do this first, otherwise you'll be hating life. There's a tab and a groove right there. Slot groove, etc. Once that's in the best you can, come around here and plug this bit into there. And that's your chest shield, and that's pretty solid. And then you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. These two tabs don't plug into anything. And we'll give it a shot. Money. Also, make sure that you tab in the back of long haul into hook. There's a port right there on the metal piece on G1. Plug that in there, and then plug your feet in, and that helps the connection as well. Your arms, drop these puppies down in there. Make sure that the part that's flush is at the top, and they should slide right in. And actually you can wrap this piece around to hide that. And we'll do the other side. Make sure the flush part is at the top, and that should slide right in. No problems. Wrap the little kibble piece in. Close it up. Head, hinge, swivel. Swivel's intact. You get to about here before the cheeks hit up against this, but otherwise fine. You get up to there, down to there, so that's all good. It has a little button on the back. There it is. So the eyes light up, and you can what? So there's that, and then the visor does lift up as well to give you the eyes if that's the look you'd rather have. Let's see what else. So arms ratcheted, holds its weight fine. Surprisingly fine because it doesn't seem like a very strong ratchet. But it must be, because there's no issues there. And up, you can move this ratchet here. See, that's one thing, the ratchets are there. Not a whole lot of up. Hold on one second. I think it would, but you bang against parts, so it's hard to get it out straight to the side. Let's see if I can. It bangs. Yeah, it gets in its own way a bit. Bicep swivel. Ratcheted elbow. Single hinge, but get you 90 degrees. The fingers, thumb. We have a hinge, which works really well to get the opposable thumb, and then we have a hinge at the first knuckle and second knuckle. We have a. You can see on the inside of the fingers there. So all of this is on a hinge here, and then a swivel here, and then hinge at that knuckle and that knuckle. So the articulation there is outstanding for a hand. And then you get the wrist swivel and hinge in and out, or up and down, depending on how you have it. So no complaints there. Articulation is same for the other side. Let's see if a couple things work any better or worse. Swivel works fine. He does get a little top heavy, and the arm does go out a bit further on this one than I seem to be able to get on that one. But still not a great range, but decent, I think, especially for this size. And all that stuff is the same because it's just the same type of piece. Waist swivel. Non-ratcheted, but works just fine. Not a crazy range, but I think, you know, anatomically appropriate. And you have these hip skirts here, which move, but they also rotate around to the side, which will help for articulation, I guess. But this one, I was hoping you could kind of move it around to fill out this side piece here, but it doesn't really work. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it doesn't really work. And then ratcheted universals out to there, out to there, and he's holding it with no problem whatsoever. Thigh swivel built into the bottom of the universal. Knee double jointed with a fantastic range. I love the way that this piece moves down. It exposes these pistons here. It's just a very cool look. And let's see. Down here we have the ankle rocker with no tilt. So all the way into there, out to there, which you would never use. And then you can kind of fake the tilt by moving the arms around and stuff to get it back. But it's not perfect. But you can work it, you know, so that's a good thing, so to speak. And let's see if the ratchets hold up strength-wise on the other side. See, that should have been a hard ratchet there, if you can, at the shoulder joint, but good. Like, if the same ratchet here was in that shoulder, I mean, it's not the same size, so it's different engineering, but pretty outstanding. And this shakes back and forth. I'm not even sure what that's for, but I guess to you can use it to help stabilize them. So that's interesting. Thigh swivel works fine. Double jointed knee works fine. Ankle tilt. Ankle rocker, no tilt. And then on the back here you have these that kind of act as heel spurs a little bit, so that's nice. So all in all, only stability issues I'm having are with Scrapper. I wish that this locked in place a little bit better, this shovel piece. So outside of that, pretty good. Let's see if the gun fits. Just a tab here. Make sure the thumb is down all the way. Yeah, and once you get it tabbed in, you're good to go. The only loose connection it's not a loose connection, it's just of it, the loosest connection is hook, but it's still solid. Like, I'm gonna try to pick it up just from hook. Fine. No issues. And I'm shaking it a good bit. Pretty impressive. There he is next to Hasbro Metroplex, Grimlock, TFC Hercules, Warbitron Bruticus, and a Decepticon Seeker. And hopefully that'll give you an idea of the size of this fella. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives. He is big, he is beefy, he is heavy, so there are some circumstances where that works against him. The bicep swivel isn't ratcheted, so sometimes when you're getting him to hold his weapon and stuff and putting it in a certain pose, the bicep swivel doesn't have the strength to hold that pose, so you kind of need to adjust the other hand to kind of hold the weapon with it, or things of that nature. It would have been nice if that was ratcheted, and since it's a part-forming piece, I feel like they probably really should have made that ratcheted. The connection between Scrapper and the leg is too tight. It's too snug, and it's poorly toleranced, and it makes for an aggravating experience when putting it together. The articulation in the shoulders, I feel like there could be a little bit more outward movement if they rethought it a little bit. I'm glad that a lot of the other joints work that you would want to work much rather than that, which even as a display piece, you never have him with his arms out to the side. I also wish, I know they're going for that Studio Ox look, and that's cool, and I dig it. I like Studio Ox in general, so I definitely appreciate it. But I wish they would have included an alternate head. I'm not a big fan of the Devastator with the ears look, and I wish they would have included an alternate option. But hopefully another company will come along and provide that. Also, the ratchets in the shoulder joints probably could have been a taste stronger, but even still, they do a pretty good job of doing what they're supposed to do. All in all, though, I'm amazed at how solid this thing is. This is probably what the Combiner Wars one should have been. Like, it has some similar cues to the Combiner Wars one in the sense that there are some very hollow parts, but everything still feels like a complete toy, independently and collectively. And if you've been watching my reviews of these pieces, I've been hit or miss on this set. You know, I liked Bone Crusher, I wasn't crazy about Scavenger, I wasn't crazy about the legs, but if you've been following along in my reviews of these pieces, you'll know that I haven't been a huge fan of this line. It's kind of been like, at first it had some initial charms, and then the charms kind of wore off, and I started to see some real problems with it in terms of how they were able to make bots of this size do this much and be at that price point. I started to figure those things out. But having it combined, I'm like, oh my god. Like, this thing was definitely built with the combine mode in mind and then worked backwards. Because this combine mode works like a champ. The weak link is Scrapper. Outside of that, he works like a champ. And I think a large part of that is the parts forming thing. I know that turns a lot of people off, but I'm telling you, that's what makes this thing so good. The sculpt and mold are accurate for what it should be. The Ox representation. The connections are interesting, they're new, and they're super secure. You know, my plan was to have this guy as my bots and have the Generation Toy one as my combine mode. And it's for a number of reasons. My Generation Toy kind of fits in scale-wise with the rest of my combiners, and these guys kind of look masterpiecey, G1, especially in bot mode. So I was like, man, it's a twofer. I got my representation of my bots, and I got the combine mode. But I'm telling you, like, if ToyWorld does all of their combiners to this level, I'm going to have to do some serious soul searching. Because this is a really solid combiner. It's the connections. Like, aside from Maketoys, Quantron, and Guardia, it's probably the best connected combiner I've ever messed with in terms of solidarity and function. But for combiners of the bigger scales, you know, and this thing is in a scale of all its own, right, as far as size. But for the, you know, the Warbitrons, the Ordens, the Feral Rexes and stuff, this is the most solid combiner of the bigger ones. And it's pretty impressive. While I have some lackluster emotions about this set individually, the piece in its entirety is much greater than the sum of its parts. So if you're getting this guy for independent robots, if you're getting this guy for combine mode and you're okay with the Ox design, I can't think of a real reason not to recommend him, because he's really well constructed, so to speak. As a combiner, he works extremely well. I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. So I'm going to keep him in combine mode for now, because, like I told you, we're going to do a comparison of both Devastators and we're going to talk at length about them. But I'm going to tell you right now, Generation Toys has its work cut out for them. But I'm pulling for them because that's still my intended plan for their Devastator. Sometimes decisions are hard to make. Look, I appreciate that you got the 2-pack. But now, how am I supposed to choose between the two of these, which to watch tonight? Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.